Hi.
Hello.
Can't hear you. Hang on one sec. That might be me. Yes, that's me. Okay, talk again. Can I hear you?
Yes, I can hear you good.
Perfect. Hi, just one sec. I'm writing down some of the things you wrote me to become richer in all areas of life. I love.
I love your outfit, Bailey. That is so cute on you.
You. Thank you. I just got this top.
It looks amazing. With the earrings and the hair. Yes, I love it. Have you had your colors done like with like a stylist?
I haven't.
Okay. I did that last year and it was so cool like how she categorizes like you into like a season and like your best color palettes and like your undertones. It's amazing. But whatever you're wearing is definitely it's perfect. So
I love it. No, I have like tried to figure it out on my own, and every time I try to figure out, it says that my best color are jewel tones, like emerald
Mhm.
and like dark purple, which and sometimes pastel, which I love too.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's cool. I can always send you the stylist that I use because it's
Sure.
super easy. She just like emails you a form, you fill it all out, and then you can even get like real tangible swatches of the colors. It was like $100. It was amazing, but it like makes sense of the stuff in my closet that I never wore was not in my palette, which was why I
Yeah.
didn't gravitate towards it.
So I'm like, if I were to look at your skin tone, I would say light, like, and just knowing your brand, I'm assuming the light blues, the light pinks were your color. Am I right?
Yeah, so I'm a soft summer, so it's like pastels and like not white itself. So like this actually isn't in my palette, but having like an icy blue and more like neutral and cool tones. I used to wear a lot of gold jewelry too, and I love that. Like I have like a lot of antique like passed down for like the family, like really cool, collections that never looked good enough. So it's more like silver tones for me.
I love it. Well, you have such beautiful blue eyes, so it makes sense, all of
Thank
those
you.
colors.
Thanks. I'm excited to have our chat today. It'll be fun.
I know, and I have a few questions that I'm gonna talk to you about. Like, I'll just go ahead and kind of tell you the rhythm that I'm thinking. Does that
Okay.
work for you? And then we'll flow
Yes.
for however, in whatever way that we want to.
Okay.
So, I obviously want to hear any stories and any kind of like the beginning of how you got in touch with your telepathy and how it's really helping you move forward and become richer in all areas of life. You know, that's what the most thing that I want to hear about. But I also am curious to hear about any barriers to intuition, any protection, rituals, or just advice when you are opening up your energy, or if that's even something that you think about. And I'll ask these questions later on. And then also, any strategies to get more deeper in touch with your intuition. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Sounds very fun. Yeah. Good conversation.
Amazing. Yes, okay. So let's begin. So, welcome to the podcast. And this is Kayla Langholf. She is a telepathic intuitive who helps you become richer in all areas of life. And today we're just going to be speaking about some of the stories that you have, some of the interesting tidbits that have not only shown you that intuition and telepathy is possible, but also what has helped you become richer in all areas of life. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you first became in touch with intuition and anything that we think we should know at the beginning of this podcast.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Bailey. This is such a good conversation, and I'm happy to be here. So, the first started back when I was a kid. And for everyone that's listening, whether you believe in past lives or not, I'm someone who does. And I never used to believe that, but looking back, things just click on a different level. And when I was a child, I had a pretty traumatic upbringing. Like my grandma raised me, just went through a lot. And so I got really good at reading people. And for a long time, I thought it was just body language. I thought it was like the tone, the words they were using, the language. I would sense things before they would happen. And I was like, oh, it's just trauma. It's just, you've been traumatized. You had to learn how to survive in that way. And that's part of it. But also, if anyone here is into astrology, when I look at my chart, a lot of the gifts I'm doing right now, I've mastered previously in previous lives. And so that's why they're extremely natural because I put in that work beforehand, which is cool to think about. And so with being telepathic, you are not only just sensing and reading someone like a book as far as like their body language and stuff, but you're able to also tap into their emotions and like the things that are coming up, the memories, the suppressed energy that they have that's influencing them. And so whether you're a child, like looking at your family, or whether you're with clients, or whether you are just out in the world, this skill is something that I believe everyone can create and learn how to do for themselves. And it doesn't have to come from like a place of, oh, you had a rough upbringing, or like, you're the glue that holds the whole family together. There's a way that we can create this sensitivity and turn it into a strength. And so that's what my life has been composed of over and over again. And there's a big piece to this that I recommend for everyone, whether this is a skill you want to build or not, but thinking about how can you unlearn who you're not? Because that's something I've said since the beginning is it's not about learning more, but how can you come and connect with who you've always been? Whether it's you from a past life or just your inner core, your essence, because that will never change. And as we get older, we get these ideas of like who we are, how we should show up. And when we have skills like this and abilities, it can feel really unsafe. And then they actually like shut down on us if we don't know how to control it. It can become like you feel like you are so susceptible to your environment versus knowing how to control it. And that's been cool to refresh myself on really in this life and help it with my clients and with other people.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. And I think we're totally aligned in a lot of these things. You mentioned past lives, and that's something that I have explored pretty extensively as well. And it's so interesting to see what comes up when you really reach these levels of your subconscious, this sensitivity that you do question, like you said, like, is this from my trauma? Is this from my conditioning? Is this from repression? Or is this truly something connected to a deeper meaning, a greater source? So I totally relate with you on that. You mentioned something about astrology that I wanted to touch back on. So you said that the astrological sign showed you that you had these experiences in past lives. Is that what I heard correctly?
So a lot of these gifts that I have now, I previously mastered them. So when you look at like someone's chart, and I have an astrologer for this, so I don't teach any of this, but it's been
Yeah.
cool to lead into this side of like business mentorship and consulting and stuff in this way because I wanted answers. And so I looked into like more holistic approaches. So like human design and astrology. And so she was showing me how I have a stellium. If anyone is listening to that, that's when you've got like three or more planets. Well, I've got six in one spot. And that's like the spot that lights up intuition, like ancestors, past life, family healing, your emotions, your inner world. And what's interesting is that is the opposite direction of your front facing business. So it is the foundation of you at the core, of you, a person, beyond business, beyond your career, beyond all of that. It is you without any of the titles or the labels, any of the achievements or like the revenue milestones. And so with that, knowing that, one, we also really pick our big lessons before we reincarnate, right? And so me, I always joke around like I was just overzealous and signed up for all these things because I went through so much like the first chunk of my life that people like don't go through that for their whole life. And I just was like over here like going through, like deep in the trenches with a lot of like trauma and things that had happened and finding a way to break the patterns, not just for me, but for my future daughters, like for the people to come in my legacy, for what I'm building now. I didn't want to pass them down this inheritance. Like, here's a bunch of money and here's a bunch of trauma. Like, that wasn't fun for me. I didn't want to be a part of that cycle. And so knowing like your chart, it can sometimes put feelings into words, and you might even just have an intuitive nudge about something that you feel really strongly about, or some place of life that you're getting so many lessons over and over again. You might have a bunch of planets there, and it might be a time that you can lean into astrology for your business. It's not just about like personal horoscopes. There's so much stuff out there that really isn't that great of quality. She can go so nuanced and so depth with it. It's really fun to experience.
I love that. So you really leaned on a couple of these outside tools like astrology, human design, and probably so many other tools that I can't wait to hear about to really strengthen that knowing that, okay, this is actually the truth, that I am experiencing this intuition. I am experiencing something on a deeper level. So yeah, tell us more about, so you started as a kid and now you're using it in business. Tell us what that looks like when you start integrating this into your life because I love how you said you unlearn who you've always wait, sorry, you will unlearn who you are. Is that what you said?
Unlearning what you're not.
Unlearning
So
what you're not, right. and and becoming who you've always been. And so that's probably a beautiful formula that you do with your coaching experiences. But what can you tell us about that? What does it take to actually go through that experience? Like, how do you know you're ready to unlearn who you're not? How do you know that this is the time to do it? How do you know also what pathway to go to and how to use your intuition in choosing that pathway too? Just kind of speak about that process, getting on board with how to start using your intuition and how to move forward.
yeah, this is such a good question. I love that you're asking this. I have a method that's called the sticky note method. And if I would have known that it would be infamous now, I would have given it a different name, but it's too late now. We're like years down the road. It's called the sticky note method because it started off as a sticky note. I was, your picture like you're at your desk or you're in your workspace. What do you have available? What do you write down your thoughts on? A sticky note, usually. Sometimes you'll put them in the notes app in your phone. Okay, yeah. Or like your Trello board or your Notion. But for the most part, it's second nature, at least it is for me, to just write it down and jot it down. And we do that on our to-do list and looking for a resource. And so I created this method. It's called the sticky note method because that's how it started off. And it was about 5 minutes. And what this does, it allows you to tap into your intuition to get the next resource that you need. And so this exact method is how I have met several of the people who've been the reason why I'm sitting with you here today. As a kid, with having all the trauma and stuff, I was deeply depressed. At one point, I was having such dark thoughts. I didn't actually know if I would be like going past 25. And I'll be 27 next month. So obviously we're good. We made it. But it was something that I never really could see the light at the end of the tunnel because I didn't know how to control my gifts and my abilities. And so from the wrong lens, it looks like mental health problems. It looks like, oh, something is deeply wrong here. And it is, but it's not that anything is wrong about you. It's the way we are perceiving it. And I look at things a lot more holistically as like a whole body, well rounded approach versus it's not your mental health or your physical health or your spiritual health. It's all connected. And I love now that people are opening up to like, oh, that's right, okay. Because when I feel an emotion, I can pinpoint it in my body and I know what emotion it is because your body is like a map. And so knowing that can really help people. So with the sticky note method, I created it because I was like, I was so tired of wasting money and time on things that I think sounds good, that I think is going to help me, and it just ends up being a waste of my time. And sometimes we need those experiences and lessons. We're not like you might invest into like mentorship for a specific reason, and it might be an intuitive pull, but the reason why may not give you the answer that you were wanting or like the preconceived notion, but you needed the experience of whatever that is, or it's teaching you something you need to know. And so with intuition, it's not about getting the answer you want. It's about getting the answer that you need. And we don't always like that answer. And so if we can't face the truth and the reality of what it is, we're going to pretend not to know. We're going to ignore. Like, it's a funny joke with me and my clients, like, what are you pretending not to know? Because we do that naturally with our subconscious minds. And your intuition can't help you if you're like scared, you're like, oh no, I don't want to deal with it. It doesn't actually help any of us, especially us like building businesses and legacies. You need to be grounded and you need to be able to tap into that resource. It's called an intelligence for a reason. And so, with that, that's how I found the business astrologer. That's how I found a holistic doctor at one point. It's funny now because I bring my dogs to a chiropractor and I use my intuition. I use the sticky note method for that. I use it on a daily basis for big decisions and small. And it's foolproof at this point. And I'm really excited that I've been able to create that framework for people. That way you don't need me with you to be able to do that.
Amazing. I love this so much. And there's so much that I want to touch on. And I just want to say, first of all, congratulations on making it through the trauma and rewriting the conditioning, rewriting the narrative for your story for your future daughters. That's honestly such a the new generational wealth to me, in my opinion. That is what people are going to look at and say, that's what I want to hand down to my kids. We no longer are caring about, okay, what can we do to build this massive wealth? And yes, that's going to be important, but I really see that people are starting to see what's possible with the amount of overwhelm and overstimulation that's happening in this time. And also, kind of, we've caught up to the awareness that there was such a lack of in times a little bit later on about trauma and how much that really affects us. And so I think that what you said about really having that generational rewiring is so admirable. And I just want to commend you and really note that down as something that I completely am on board with you on and cheering on that revolution, if you will. The other part that I wanted to talk about too is this the other end of this looks like mental health, because I think there are so many people that are highly sensitive beings and who have this very intuitive edge, which shows them, oh, there's some sort of sensitivity in this body language, there's some sort of sign from this situation. And can you tell us about potentially the turning point of what that was for you and how uh, you've been able to be more using those gifts for your greater good instead of being in that more mental health load? Like, what was that switch for you? And did you have guidance? Did you use intuition? Did you use the note method? And maybe really talk to kind of like the mental barriers that really helped you move through that process.
Yeah, this is a really good question. I wouldn't say that it was overnight. It wasn't like a switch that went off. It was a slow build. And I say slow, not as in it was like baby steps. I was taking leaps. I was, jumping up flights of stairs is what it felt like as far as the healing and the depths that I was willing to go. This has been a common thing across a lot of my doctors and mentors that I've had. They're like, you just have this, they say it's courage, but that's not like the right word I would use. But it's like this desire that never shuts off of I'm going to get the answer. I'm going to heal. I had doctors at one point when I was younger, and this was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Mhm.
I was having all these physical symptoms show up because of suppressed emotions and because I wasn't listening to my intuition. And so I had a doctor say, okay, he sat me down and he was like, you have Lyme disease. And I immediately could feel it in my body. And I was like, no, I don't. You don't know what you're talking about. That's just a label. Like I'm not self-identifying with that at all. And there were so many symptoms I couldn't explain. I don't have any of them. Right. Once you know how to feel your emotions and then like you're working through suppressed things that you've shoved down for so long to survive, once you release those, you're like, oh my gosh, I can exhale. Like people come into my house and like it feels like a spa in here because you can just feel it radiating, like you can feel that radiating off people when they're so grounded and anchored in who they are. But me then, whew, I was flighty, I was stressed, I was anxious, I was overly nice. I had no boundaries. I was putting everyone else first. I was asking, what do you think about this versus going internally. I prioritized the people around me because I love them and I value them and I respect them. But I was valuing them more than I valued myself, and it showed. And when we are not prioritizing our inner knowing, it's not that it goes away, but it goes mute. It's like you can barely hear it. It's because it feels like you're self-abandoning yourself every time that you do that, whether it's conscious or not. That's what we're like initially saying is, well, you're not important enough because there's no facts. Like, how do you actually know? And so we begin not to trust ourselves. And I did it for a long time. And so this build was a continuous shift. I remember being like 21 and I was so unhappy like for being so young, I was so unhappy. I was in college. I was like, okay, maybe I'll start real estate school. And I did, and I ended up doing very well until my intuition was like, you're actually going to close everything. You're going to leave the man you think you're going to marry. You're going to leave your business at its highest month ever. And I was doing very well for a new agent. You're going to uproot your entire life where you grew up, your friends, your family, and you're going to move. You're going to move to a state where you know one person and you've got no plan. And that's what I did. And it took everything in me. It was so out of character because it wasn't actually me. Like I definitely had guidance coming in from like
Mm.
ancestors and my spirit team and things outside of me because Kayla would have never been able to do that on her own. Like there is no like I'm self-made. Like I don't believe in that because you always have help, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, you do. And I'm one to tell you that I've had a lot of help. This is not a one-woman show over here, and I'm proud of that. And I think people like that need to like we need to own it more. That
Mm.
it's okay not to have the answers. That's the whole point. And so with that slow build, I was using my intuition to I found a holistic doctor before I ended up moving. And I did a lot of really intense healing. And it was more than just therapy because I'd had 22 years of therapy. I know what that's like. It's not really that helpful when you're in business, when you're a CEO, or when you are really building something so much bigger than yourself. It's just therapy is like you re-identifying with the problem or you're blaming someone else for it. That's not actually helping anyone. And so with that other doctor and my determination and just letting myself try things out. I don't know if you know, like you probably know human design, Bailey, but I'm a 3-5. So it is like the F around and find out archetype. I gotta go for it. I gotta go first. It's not always gonna land 100%. And that's why I give really good advice because I tried a lot of different things and I know what works well and what's a waste of our time.
Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed with everything you're saying about all of these things. Um, yeah, that's so interesting. You're so right. It's definitely never a night and day. Like it's a long process to transformation in general. And that's what I was thinking about kind of when I was, having my own just getting my own thoughts together on what intuition is and what how do you access that? And to me, it always starts with a physical detoxification of some sort because there's so much overstimulation. There's so much
Mhm.
things going on in our world that the holistic doctors and holistic wellness can really help you get in touch with those more quiet parts of yourself. Like you said, it never goes away. It just becomes a whisper. Sometimes it'll turn into a scream in the voice of you're gonna have back pain now, or you're gonna have digestive pain, or you're gonna have, insomnia. And that was what happened in my case. And I went down kind of a similar process as you. And I've always been this highly sensitive person and in touch with my feelings, in touch with being able to read people and situations. And I ended up kind of going down that same route of how do I really get in touch with that more physical detoxification, that healing on beyond therapy. Because
Mhm.
just like you said, therapy can be very helpful in understanding what's happened, especially when it comes to past stories. But when you are moving forward and you are beyond the intellect of healing, it's time to dive into somatics. It's time to dive into intuition and deep healing and all of these things that I'm sure that you speak about. So I love all of this. And oh my gosh, the thing that you were saying about no one is self-made, can we just like I that was such a permission slip for everyone. I just want to re-say what you said. You said we don't need to pretend like we know what to do and how to move. No one is self-made, and it's okay that we are calling on our ancestors, on mentors, on people to help us grow, and at the same time, kind of owning what we do know, not needing to ask for advice, but knowing that it's available to us when we want to.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of your question too from before that I didn't fully answer is you were asking what gets in the way of intuition. So our emotions, our programming, our past, any beliefs. So when we're thinking about everyone that's listening, if you think about the last time your intuition really showed up strongly, you might have felt a physical pull towards something, like maybe your shoulders actually go forward, or you get this burst of excitement, or you just know, oh, yes, that sounds amazing, that sounds fun, and you're not filling it afterward with, oh, what if this, oh, well, I didn't, I'm not ready quite, and all those things that come after that, that's not your intuition at all. That's your ego, that's past programming, and we talk ourselves out of those intuitive nudges so much, too much. And it's not about your intuition's not going to not challenge you. People think, oh, if it's going to feel easy, it'll be the right thing. Not necessarily. One intuitive nudge for me landed me in 31 countries and counting with my podcast in less than 2 years with no team, no ads, none of that stuff. It was just me. But what people don't realize is speaking, as podcasting, as our conversation right here, used to be my hands down my biggest fear. It wasn't public speaking, even, it was just getting my voice out into the world. It would like the first episode, I think I recorded it like 7 times. It was insane. You would think that I was being chased through the jungle by like a tribe or something. It was horrible. And your intuition is going to challenge you. It's going to ask you to unlearn what you're not and show up as you are. And it doesn't feel good always. Having something feel wrong or the resistance doesn't mean it's the wrong option. It just means there's growth. And when people are like, oh, this is so hard, I'm like, is it hard or are you growing? Is it hard or are you growing? Because it's always option two. It's not that hard. You're just
Yeah.
growing. Get over it. Like you're okay.
Yeah. I feel like something that people always ask me when I'm coaching, in really any type of archetype, and we come across the topic of intuition and fear and emotion. The question is always, is it intuition or is it not good for me? And you're saying that that first intuitive hit is typically correct. Is that what
Mhm.
I'm reading? Is that
Yes.
can you speak more to that? Like, is there any situation where maybe that fear will be that first feeling and really it's that deep knowing instead that overrides and that's what your intuition is? Can you just kind of give us your advice on this?
With knowing like the difference, or because they'll both show up depending on the situation.
The difference and whether so say someone has a decision to make and let's say it's a decision to stay at this high pressure job that takes a lot of their energy and but they feel of service there and they feel in general alignment there. Part of their questioning is, oh, intuitively, I feel like I want to stay here, but I also have this deep fear of burning out. I have this deep fear that I'm not going to be in my best energy there. How do you differentiate between what the fear is and what the intuitive answer is?
Yeah. It depends on the person, on if they have done enough. One second.
I'm always drinking water.
It depends on if they've done enough inner work to know the difference. So I can tell the difference immediately with someone like on Zoom or in person.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily have that ability, is what I've noticed. And so it's been great for me. It's been a fun challenge to, okay, how can I create extensive frameworks for people that I'm still in the process of doing to where they don't need me in person? So with intuition, it's going to be in the moment. It's not something you can plan for, which is so hard to hear for all of us type A's. Like, look at all the highlighters I have. Like, I love a good planner. I love being strategic. I love a checklist. I do. I just love it. And a lot of people, a lot of us do. With that, though, you cannot plan for your intuition. You can't plan for it. You can plan for some things, but you can't. The most magical hits or ideas you're going to get, the things that make you $1 million, the decisions that seem like so small and random on a Wednesday afternoon that are going to totally change the whole trajectory of your life, you're not planning for those, but you've got to be open. And so that's what I talk about a lot is, are you open or are you closed off? Because fear and the what ifs, you shut your body down, you're closed off. If you are so afraid of change, if you're not ready to let go what's not serving you for something better, you're not even ready to be helped. Like you're not actually asking for something more. And so when we feel mostly aligned, but we're feeling called to do something else, listen to that. It doesn't mean that you abandon your current path, but play around with that other idea or give yourself some time aside from like what you're doing currently to explore that and see. You'd be amazed at what something so subtly comes through ends up being a massive, massive thing for you. Like me for speaking, it was my biggest fear. I would have never planned to have a podcast show. I would have never planned to be on other people's shows and to speak across, the globe and have your voice and your life's work echo in the voices and the places that people need to hear it. That was never a plan. That was never something I wanted to do either. But yet it is actually my favorite thing. It's what I'm known for. People will say, Kayla, I don't listen to your content that much, but I love your podcast because it's your voice. I just feel connected with you. And so personality isn't permanent. That inner work piece is so important for what we're building because you might not think that something is for you because it doesn't sound fun and it could turn into your favorite thing. It could be what you're actually made for. You just can't hear it underneath all the conditioning. And so the difference I found for a lot of people, and this is something else that I teach, is if it feels like emotionally charged in a negative way, it's fear, obviously, right? But we don't always realize that. Sometimes we mistake it for excitement. Like that guy that gives you butterflies, that's not actually a good thing. It's like your nervous system being like, what's going on? I don't know if this is a good idea. An intuitive pull, a lot of times, is neutral. There's no logic behind it. There's no reasoning. It might feel random. You might dismiss it, not even realizing that that's what just happened because it is so subtle. But the more you prioritize that and listen to it, the stronger it gets to where it does sound like someone's holding up a megaphone to your ear and being like, you should go do this next. And then it becomes so much easier to follow. And you don't feel like you're walking into the unknown. You feel like you have a flashlight and it's okay that it's dark and that you don't have the full map of your destination, but you're on the journey and you're present and you know that you have this guidance that will lead you that your intuition will lead you to places that logic could never. I'll say that again if that was fast. But one of my favorite sayings is your intuition will lead you to places that logic could never, because it will. And for us planners, we get in our own way. We get over the top with it. And it's okay to have ideas of what you want, but also be okay if those things change. And to know that you don't need all the answers before you start. If you start when you're ready, you start too late. You're never going to feel ready. That's not a thing.
True.
But what you can do is ground yourself, be present, and trust what you feel and go off of that.
Amazing. So this is all so good. Your intuition will lead you to places your logic could never. I definitely 100% agree. And It's crazy because I find that the months where I am on my computer and figuring out the funnel and figuring out the perfect thing to do, I have low leads coming in. All the things that I thought would create this massive incoming swoosh uh, turns out actually just being open is what is the biggest lead generator. And I felt this for myself. And to me, it's almost like an indescribable energy that requires you to do, it does require that initial deep work of really connecting with yourself, unlearning who you're not, and becoming who you've always been. But there's also just this like indescribable feeling like you trust. And even if there are fears coming up, they're slowly moving, and it's almost as if your awareness is on hyperspeed, but and your presence is on hyperspeed. It's that flow state that
Mhm.
where you feel physically good, you feel like there's no, for me specifically, I have like the closed energy is very easy to explain because it turns into pain, physical pain, and physical symptoms come up. But that open heart is like I feel almost like I'm a well-oiled machine. My body is moving more quickly, my joints are more limber, my eyes are a little bit wider. And so, what do you feel when you feel open in this energy to receive messages from your intuition, but also open to receive more clients? And what is that? Do you have practices that you do? Do you have anything that you can recommend that people can practically bring forward to be more open?
I love this question because it's one of my favorite things, and it is so simple, right? Being open versus not being closed off. And with that, when we open ourselves up, we have to think about, okay, if we're highly sensitive, whether you think that you are or not, if you're able to read a room, you're sensitive. If you're picking up tension in your shoulders because the is mad, you're sensitive. If you're able to even like predict things slightly ahead, or you've got really creative dreams that somehow end up happening, you're sensitive. And so we may not feel sensitive, right? Because like a lot of us are leaders, and you don't want to lead with like, oh, I'm like a sponge, I pick up everything, because that's not good marketing or branding. And you're really not a sponge, you've got discernment. But with that, we have to think about it's not just about being open, but it's clearing out, it's removing what you're not. And so when we are open, we are picking up even more so people's energy around us.
Hmm.
And that can be something that really affects, if it affects us every day, because it'll affect your emotions, how you look at money, how you are thinking. It's like people will be like, oh, I'm nothing like my family. But then they end up laughing the same way as their mom and their grandma. Like everyone's laughing the same. It's like, no, you don't understand. You have you have things that are passed down, their limiting beliefs, it's emotions, it's memories. Someone can have trauma in your family that's like 3 rows up, and you actually feel it as if it happened to you because they didn't process it. And it just keeps passing down the line. And so when we're opening it up, you're opening yourself up to all of this. It's not just about like getting the intuitive hit, but like, can you discern between that versus
Wow.
programming versus their thing versus your aunt's thing that like, sideswiped into your stuff? If you're like, okay, can you not? And it's being able to know who you are versus them. Like, where do you end and they begin? It's like the definition of like being an empath, right? Like you're picking up everything. So I've got a signature program called Heaven on Earth, and it's filled with energy clearing practices that are like made for like everyday use. And in there, some of what I talk about is we train people how to treat us. Okay, that's a big one. We don't realize that. We train people how to treat us. We also can get to a place where we observe and not absorb their information, their energy, how they're feeling to have it affect us. Because it's not just a monetary or a moment thing, it stays with us until we actually clear it and remove it.
Mm.
And so if you're building something of your own, an industry, a business, a book, you're not going off of a framework. You're building it from you, your originality. knowing what's yours and what's not is going to make so much of a difference. Like over the years, I've had people, and we all like get inspiration from each other, but I've had people like copy content or whatever, and it's fine. And what happens is we end up picking up stuff from even people that we love, like mentors and inspirations, and then we can't tell the difference between what's theirs and what's ours. Like it happens to everyone. It happens to literally everyone, especially like when you have such a big heart, you know you're here to change the world. You are like you love what you do and you're so involved, right? You're so present in like keeping up with people that you love online and in person, like your loved ones and all this stuff. And so your life is full of all these people, but how can you hear yourself if you don't clear it out? So I actually recommend not opening yourself up until you know or until you have things that you can work through. Otherwise, I feel like I'm doing you a disservice, because you're going to be picking up all this stuff and not know how to handle it and not know what's theirs and what's yours. And there's like a lot of simple practices you can do for that. You'll find that you'll pick up energy from other people if you get home and you immediately want to change your clothes. That's a giveaway.
And
Or
take
if
a
someone's
shower.
draining you, yeah, like if someone's draining you, you actually gave them subconscious permission to drain you. That's a big one. Because I used to be like, everyone's so
Cool.
negative, everyone's draining me, this is all your fault. Like, that's so rude. And so I would isolate myself because I didn't know how to handle the boundaries, the language, the communication that goes into that. And now, I mean, there's so many things that come up on a daily basis that it would have broke the old me. Like, it is just such a breeze now to handle it because I have this sense of stability and trust and resilience that nothing that comes my way is going to tear me down. It's not sending me off course either. If anything, it's momentum propelling me up forward. But I never used to feel like that. And so clearing is really important. And I call the program Heaven on Earth because it is like that bridge of giving you this almost grounded yet vivid outlook on life of how you can show up in any capacity with friends, family, clients, followers, even around yourself, in having that ability to listen to your intuition, to be able to hear it, and to know how to clear what's not yours. It's one of the most foundational things that I think everyone needs to have, especially in this like rising of people who are here to be like the new world leaders. It's extremely important. If you can't tell, Bailey, I'm just like going off here.
We are so aligned in all the ways. I think energy protection and clearing the energy is so, so important. And I talk about it with all my clients. And I think energy clearing can have this very intense method some of the time. We can go into like one of my specialties is deep transformational breath work where we're doing heart connected breath work and really reaching these deep parts of you. But energy clearing can also be consciously releasing energy after you connect with people. And there's a range of what energy clearing looks like, and it all comes from intuition. First, it all comes from an intention and intuition of how you're going to clear this first off. And there's so many tools and strategies, and I cannot wait to see and experience some of your energy healing. And I don't know if you're open to doing one quickly right now. Like, would that be something that you would be open to? Like, can you share anything about an energy healing? Can you share, maybe send us home with some homework of how to clear our energy?
Yeah, I'm thinking specifically on that program. It's more than just like a broad, like, okay, let's clear your energy. It's very specific and situational based. So, and it also is like in a situation with other people. So, if you here's something that comes up a lot is people will say, well, I feel drained when someone next to me or someone close to me, like my family or my friends or my clients, is having a really difficult time. Maybe they're being negative, maybe they have picked up a little bit of like, woe is me, and it's affecting you. And there's a process that if we were to imagine that we're not so like attached close with them, but if you zoom out, not even in just your body language, but if you zoom out of removing yourself from the situation you can still care for that person. You can still hold space, be compassionate, offer your insights if they're asking for help, but it doesn't actually affect you at all. And what I've learned, especially like this week specifically, I was feeling really ungrounded. I had a friend coming to visit, which I love. I have like mandatory girls' trips every quarter, and it's so fun. And with that, though, you're entertaining, you're hosting, you're doing all this stuff, right? And then I have more family and friends staying with like a day in between. And I run a full business. I'm a one-woman show. I have like other things it out. Like I have support in those, like for like the house and things and the dogs. But for the business side of it, it's still all on me. And so like that's a lot to maintain. And I didn't have any alone time. I found myself feeling a little bit overstimulated. And I found that I didn't need to self-isolate because of these practices. So I zoomed out, not even like physically, but mentally for 5, 10 minutes, was just coming back to being present. And that's all I needed. So it's like it's more than just like a one and done. It's like how can we create consistency with this? And instead of doing none of my practices involve like what you specialize in, like meditation, breath work, all that. Heaven on earth isn't about that. It's more coming through the lens of communication, of words, of boundaries. It's perspective. It's like the way that you see something, and it's using your visualization as a big tool. So it's something you can do anywhere. And I like that a lot because some of the tools that we love, they might work really well, but they might be like an hour long. And I don't have time for that. I don't want to make time
Right.
for that. I want things in the present moment. That when we
Mhm.
feel overstimulated, the best thing we can do is reach for a tool that's 5 minutes that
Mhm.
like resets us. And so if anyone's listening, a practice you can do when you're starting to feel overstimulated is zoom out. And even if you got to close your eyes, it's fine. You don't need music, you don't need anything else. Trust that you yourself is the best tool. You don't need all this extra, like all the things outside of it necessarily every time. And see how much you can actually reset on your own. It's amazing. Like even just me talking about this with people, they were like, "That's crazy," because I used to be so I would like barricade like mentally because I couldn't be around people when I was like that. And within like 20 minutes, I was good. I was like excited. I was joyful. I would bounce back really quickly. And I want that for everyone. It doesn't have to take over your day or be something that keeps being like a problem. It'll get a lot better as you consistently work through it.
Totally makes sense. And I love that too. You really have to have that consistent rewiring no matter what it is. If you're, building a habit, if you're doing meditation, if you're doing these visualizations, the consistency is really where your brain starts to learn that this is something that you can actually do. You can start to really trust yourself in it. This has been so amazing. I have learned so much, and I think the biggest thing that I learned in general is how much power and how that sensitivity is really something that we can convert into a great gift. And it's something to nourish and really open ourselves up to. And I found that part about when you do become open, you are opening space for all different types of clearing. And so it can create a lot of energy. And this is kind of what people experience while they do shadow work and these deep healing processes. You're opening up a lot. And that's why it's so important to have someone like Kayla, someone like a coach or a therapist to bring you through these practices and really open yourself, really have your environment set up to support you. Because this openness is, and turning these gifts into good, it it's going to be knocking at your door until you do have the capacity and do make space to be open. Typically, people who are sensitive, like I said, they'll come with symptoms. They'll come with being way overwhelmed with family and having physical and mental burnout, not being able to fully show up. And so, while this clearing is a responsibility and something that does, require consistency, it's so powerful and so worth it. And so I really enjoyed this podcast, Kayla. Thank you so much. if there's anything more you want to say, if you want to send people anywhere, if you want to send us off with a last note, anything that you want people to remember, end us out right now.
Something I will add is when you consistently clear your energy, like when you're unlearning what you're not, it's going to affect every area of your life because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And with one of my brand sayings, it's become richer in all areas of life because it was never just about you having a lot of money. If you didn't have good relationships with like your family or your friends or your health was declining, it's not enough for you. And it shouldn't be because I'm the same way. It's all or nothing. It's an all or nothing approach. All the money in the world doesn't matter if your inner peace is nowhere to be found. If you can't self regulate, if you're getting triggered constantly, that's no life for you. That's no life for anyone. I don't want anyone to experience that. And we're doing this because we want to. We are building these businesses we are leading because we want to, not because we have to, but because we genuinely have something inside of us that is pulling us forward, that is magnetizing us forward. And something that happened a couple months ago is so when I read people, because I'm psychic, I don't have to have a conversation with them to know what's going on. And so with that, I look at myself not as a coach, but more of like a guide and like a mentor as far as like I don't need the spotlight on me. I'm just here to guide people that are here to change the world. And I'm good with that. I don't need my face plastered everywhere. I'm good. And so with this, I was at this event and the woman speaking was someone who I listened to her podcast in like some of the darkest life and she was so inspiring and watching her speak on stage I felt this like in my stomach that just dropped because I could feel how she was so out of alignment with who she is and that she actually wasn't supposed to be like doing the business she was doing and she's since then she's quit but she was like really big in the manifestation world. I think 8 figures a year, had a full team. I called it a year ahead of time because that's how far I can sense. And so when I'm using intuition with my own and other people's, I'm keeping them 10 steps ahead by knowing how to read situations. And so we think about like how fear and our emotions can cloud our intuition and it just causes like to us to like almost waste time sometimes. And when we feel overstimulated, it just doesn't really help. There's no real answer that can show up. And so amazing things can happen when you clear your energy regularly and like you deal with your emotions because you will learn how to turn your sensitivities into strengths, into gifts. I think more people are psychic than they realize. They just don't even know. They've got no idea. And now it's such an obvious thing for me where I'm like, that was so funny. Because I used to like see like my, I've got mediumship stuff too. And so I would see stuff when I was a kid, like ghosts and spirits, and I blocked it out until more recently. And so thinking about that's who you always were before all like the conditioning and stuff. And how do we get back to that? How do we unlearn to get back to you?
Absolutely love it. Yeah, people always say like a child is one of the most enlightened beings on earth, and we can learn a lot from them. And they're the ones who are on the telepathy tapes and have so much intuition and telepathy. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much, Kayla.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Bailey. If anyone's curious, I'm on Instagram, energetically her, and I'm also on Substack as well. It's called Read Between the Lines, and it's fun. There's like a new post every week, and there's a podcast too. So I'll have the links or whatever.
Yeah, we'll have the links down below. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks.